Hi, I'm Sean Morris, and I've got an FBI file this big. But I took Excedrin, and yeah, it didn't help. But my headache went away, so that's nice. Anyways, so I've had my time with paranoia, that's for sure. And of course, at the time, I wouldn't see it as paranoia. Now that I know I was propagandized, oh, yeah, paranoia is the definition. But I still kind of get out on technicality because I experienced some really weird shit during the Bush administration. And it all makes a lot more sense now. Like all of the data. You know, like before I had conflicting strains of data that couldn't really put logic to. Like, in particular, the amount of attention that the National Security Agency seemed to be giving me at the time. Um, I'm trying to decide whether I want to go into the specific story I was thinking of, or a couple of specific stories, or I guess I should. But I was trying to decide whether or not like, had I been made into the bad guy back then? Because I had been basically giving a whole new rhetorical vibrance to the waronwar.org editorials. Like basically sitting there right with Nathan as he was writing, like the editorial section from the editor of the website, and also the different ways stories were shared on there. Um, for those of you familiar with web programming, it was a simple post-nuke website. Which he actually, oh wait, was it him or was it? I think he was on the team at Intercosmos that developed Post Nuke, and that's why he was so familiar with it. But anyways, Nathan went to school with the owner of like a lot of the internet. Okay. um, and that'd be, obviously Intercosmos, which owns a lot of different websites, but the main one I use from them is DirectNick, or used to use. Back when I could, back when I was allowed to internet. Anybody watching yet? I tried to restart the stream to send out notifications. Thought I had Green Day in my head for a second there. Wait, was that me? Or somebody else just read the name of the stream. Paranoid, paranoid, everyone's coming to get me. I never had that album, so I can't play that song. All I had was Dookie. And then I found a change of pants. Sorry, had to. Had to try to make nobody laugh. Anyways. So back to the story, right? So just some background. Let's see here. I was very I don't want to say I had like disciplinary problems like your average person that would have disciplinary problems. I was more found a lot of ways to push the boundaries, kind of. And I would get in trouble a lot for disturbing artwork. Fancy that. Often artwork of a sexual nature, if not violent and crazy. Or both. Like, no, she's not on fire. That's how she feels. No, she's not being stabbed. That's how she feels. No, she's not impaled on a pike. That's how she feels. Why does she have to be naked? Because that's how she feels. And just to give you an idea of my particular attitude and how young I had it, I think it was either 7th or 8th grade that I had gotten in trouble for drawing things that were expressive and allegedly sexual. And then basically the violence wasn't necessarily the problem. It was the naked lady they were afraid of. I'm like, wait, have you seen like art before? So as revenge, I guess, just to be a smartass, I don't know. What I had did was a non, well, hedonistic but non-disgusting version of the like maybe a prequel, maybe an alternate positive reality version of the movie Centipede. Just this one fucking that one fucking that one sucking that one eating that one fucking, just a chain of people, boy girl, oh, man woman, man woman. And I just kept making the tits bigger and bigger, and the dicks bigger and bigger. Until I just, like, I had other kids watching me, and I was just like drawing just giant cocks. It's just a big circular collage a cuckold collage, basically. No, a cocklage, a cocklage collage, a cock and pussy collage. It was a fornication fiesta. I don't know. Um, the word Mobius comes to mind. It was like Mobius strippers. I don't know. That's a science class pun. How about that? Anyways, I think I tried. I think I made a better joke at the time. Cuter and funnier back then, apparently. Or cute and funny. Period. Yeah, more accurate. Misha, 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 get down. Can't have the chicken bones. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. You barking at me, huh? Like, but fuck, what the fuck? You ain't eating them, bitch. Like, anyways, so the live chat thing just came up out of nowhere, and it said, "Welcome to live chat." I just don't know anymore with YouTube, man. Well, I do. Just like, the longer they keep this up, the further they dig their hole, you know? Just make it all the easier to bury them. You know, like I said, by not correcting the problem, they're just leaving a nice trail of footprints. And at this point, it's not about, you know, sources and methods, and, you know, how they would actually gather the information. They've already been led to that. They've already been tracking y'all guys for a long time. I mean, that was the point of this fucking channel to begin with. You don't think they had something on that? They've been holding back in weird ways, and it's even confused me at some points, but things all make way too much sense. And all Google and the various little troll centers that they're trying to set up to disperse and confuse. It's basically just further conspiracy to obstruct. I mean, they're aware of the ongoing investigation. When you keep doing things like this, you're just digging your grave. There's another technical charge that it applies to, but it's similar to obstruction. But obstruction still applies. Just by trying to cover up an ongoing activity that basically they're supposed to be helping the investigators with, you know? I just better cover my coffee. I see a gnat. A gnat named Annette. A gnat named Antoinette. No, Antoinette. What do you cook? That's all I got. Anyway, sorry. I think that was the worst attempt at a joke I've ever made. And the bottom had to be somewhere. Yeah. I still like this one. Wait, I'm trying to remember another one now. Watch me forget the first one. So it was a horribly cheesy pun. Misha, what are you doing? Meowing at something in the bathroom. I have no idea. Anyways, I gave her. Oh. I gave my kid a brush and I said, "Here, you inherited that from your mother." It's in there. It's in there. Just wait for it. She heard it. I didn't even hear it when I said it. She just starts laughing at me. I'm like, what the hell are you laughing at? I inherited this. Get it? Hair inherited? Really? Well, my new favorite. I think I'm gonna. If I can't find anybody who's used this joke before, because I don't know, it doesn't seem like it could possibly be something that nobody thought of. But I like it. It's subtle, but I think it's funny. You know, there's a lot of funny things about farts, but most of them are inside jokes. They always come out at the worst times. Easyreefers at Gmail. Merry Christmas. Thank you. You know, you got to use an email address. It's the easy email. Spelled the same way. You know. Misha, get down. I'm just gonna put that damn plate on the floor for her. And again, I do need to distract the outside cats because the freaking trash didn't get taken out on time on Saturday. Because they're like, oh, I can wait till the afternoon. I'm like, sometimes it comes in the morning. I don't mean to say this as if I'm repeating myself, but I'm repeating myself. You know, parenting would be a lot easier if you just knew what to record and just have waiting to play. You know, if you're rich, you could still be a hands-on parent. Just hire a DJ to like sample you. And you can just, you know, kind of follow the babysitter around and like you can make a mix of the day. Keep them entertained with music when they're not doing anything wrong, you know. have everything recorded twice. Once like you're telling them. No, maybe 3 times. You got to have that once, where you just tell them, and then you tell them a little more. You tell them again. That's the second one. You tell them again. And then it's, I thought I told you. Why can't you? Yeah. You got to get all 3 of those in there. Give the DJ something to mix. Hey, if they could do it on Pink Floyd The Wall, You can't have any pudding. It'll work. If you're rich enough to hire a DJ instead of a babysitter while you're home, you're one of the people that still has the babysitter while you're home, might I recommend you just hire a DJ instead. That way, like, you can be there and you can be doing the parent thing, but you can still be busy. I don't know. It's a stupid idea. Anyways. And she's got some chicken down. I knew as soon as I got distracted, she was going to get in that fucking chicken. Oh, well. Who can resist Popeyes? So, yeah, let's get back to story time. I'm going to tell a couple real-time stories before I remember what the hell story I was actually telling. We wound up getting chicken last night because first we got in a little fight over what was on the TV, basically. And just the kids were in a shit mood and just everything was miserable. And then Kira remembered that she didn't do something at the office, which is transfer the phones to the answering service. Kind of needs to be done. It's already dark. Had to get there in a hurry, so I drove her. And by the time she gets done over there, closing up shop and shit, it's already 8 o'clock at night. And we're like, do we want to go home and try to fucking cook dinner and not be able to get the kids to bed until 10? Or do we want to pick up some food? And right across from her work was Popeyes. We hadn't had Popeyes in so long. I couldn't resist. Like, oh my God. Sweet tea. Oh, sweet tea. And of course, you go get the big family deal that fucking feeds everyone. It was either that or Burger King or Taco Bell. Either way, feeding 4 people. But yeah, we didn't even get back with the chicken until like 8:45. Because for some reason, they never have the chicken you want. Oh, it's going to be 3 minutes on that. Oh, it's going to be... And then as I was sitting there, I went inside to wait from the drive-thru, went inside to wait. Every single person that ordered, the time went up. I'm like, I think y'all need a bigger fryer or something. What are y'all just like cooking like one chicken leg at a time? Like, what the fuck's going on here? Anyway, so that was exciting, but this morning was more exciting. When the live stream got cut off earlier, it was I rushed out of here. I fucking gotta go. Shit, fuck. I didn't explain it all. What happened was that's usually the time where I say I gotta go. I only have a temporary amount of time during that time of day to do like a 40-minute live stream, tops. And we went to 45 minutes, which meant that the youngest kid's bus had already passed. And we didn't make it out there in time. So I'm trying to get a 10-year-old kid to navigate me to a point where we can head off her bus. And I didn't even like make the decision to do that right away. I waited apparently to the last moment. Like the force was telling me that now there's still time. I gotten up there and it like the neighbor came out with the other kids that I usually help. I usually go and pick them up and bring them to the bus stop. They walked up. I was sitting there waiting out there with Layla, just like maybe it'd be late today. Like maybe I didn't know if we just missed it or whether it was just about to come, right? But then they came walking up, like, what are you doing here? Like, yeah, we missed the freaking bus. And another minute or two goes by. And Robin says, if you want to go catch them, go ahead. We'll get out and we got no problem walking. We're just waiting out here. Because, it's not like wet or extremely cold today. Took off down the road. Layla's, my youngest, she's sitting there telling me, oh, turn here. Right as I'm about to pass this one street. Go up, turn around, make a fucking U-turn. Somehow there was no morning traffic interfering. Thank God. But, turned around. And this little street, I don't know what the speed limit is on it. So I was doing 53. And it had some bends. And then it comes to an abrupt T-end around a bend. And then you're on a really little street. Like when you got to kind of get off of it a little to let oncoming traffic pass. And right before we got to it, see the bus hauling ass, the bus driver. She got a little bit of a lead foot. See her pass right as we get to this T intersection. Turn left. There's one last stop, and I launch out of the turn. Come down there, flash the lights at her. She had just finished picking up the kid at the last stop. Goes about 20 more feet and then stops again. What is going on here? Like it looked like there should be like a little surfer on there. There we go. There we go. Oh, that's my. Oh, right. There we go. Perfect. Anyways. So, yeah. After hitting VTech about 5 times, um, managed to catch up with Layla's bus. I had no confidence in her ability to. She didn't even know what like head off meant. Like we gotta head it off at the pass, like we gotta intersect it somewhere where okay. And I'm like, okay, so if we're going down this street, she will have gone down other streets and then come down this street. Yeah, that's what heading off means. Okay, good. And I'm talking skin of my teeth, man. It was the last stop. It was right there to the left of that T. And I come to a complete stop at stop signs. There's 2 people here, and it still says 0 people watching. Howdy, Mr. Conway. Did you get it, Miss Q? It's just Easy Reefers or the Lost Begotten and Gmail email handle. Spelled the same way with the caps. I don't know if the caps matter, but usually when it's an email address, caps matter. Or it used to be. It used to be, I think. Because those are different binary numbers. Anyways, let's space out. Let's space out and think about translating binary sequences for a minute while you're supposed to be live streaming. Oh, that's really good. When I got back, this is just how mortal I am. It's just me being a normal guy, right? I think. Just indulging in being human for a second. I asked my neighbor, because she comes and sit and have a cigarette with Kira or something in the morning. And I asked her, so when I took off in the Honda, did it seem like one of those cars that makes a lot of noise and doesn't go anywhere quick, or did it seem like it was going somewhere? And she's like, it was going somewhere. It was definitely going somewhere. I'm like, good. I just wanted to know we didn't put all that damn work. Yeah, there you go. Sean Morris should come up on the Lost Begotten one if it's correct. There you go. I don't know why I'm still being paranoid with it. That's not like the actual account email handle. But I don't know. This whole experience I mean, like my mind was kind of blown by how Google seems complicit in all this. Because I was just like, wow, really? They have been allowed to take over so much of our infrastructure. For them to be compromised means we're really fucked. And I just didn't want to think it. I know they're in an interesting situation when it comes to deleting my content here. Would cause a lot more problems for them than it might seem. Especially with that whole ongoing investigation thing, you know? So in wondering how paranoid I should be, I find that they treat me with a certain degree of paranoia. Because not only is it them that's being investigated, but they consider what would happen should I need to be investigated for what I might do if they deleted my shit. And that's probably pretty smart of them. Because I don't know if I'd be able to handle all of the work I've put in just being erased. No, I might just snap and revert to training, you know? We're no longer calling it search and destroy, we're calling it sweep and clear. What an odd time for a random movie quote, Sean. I know. That wasn't a very good attempt at being subtle. I know. Cool. Well, thank you, Miss Susie. That is very kind of you. And I might do a thing where y'all get to know what the kids are getting before they do. And I'll watch the stream. Which is, good. I try not to let them hear what I talk about on here. But I will tell you this. I think teaching your children about how the world forgot reincarnation and teaching all of the different things that society used to be is now more important than ever. And when it comes to somebody in high school, that's the time when you can be the most influential, when you're actually one of the people who are wise or at least seeking knowledge. And right now it's like, what do you do? Where do you send your kid to actually gain wisdom? I haven't spent enough time, confessorily, I haven't spent enough time looking for a church to take them. But the politics of the area is kind of discouraging. If you want to see segregation in the South, Look at the way the churches are starting to become. You know, like these non-denominational churches, they're still like, you know, like the mostly white church will have a couple of black people. And you might get the occasional white friends visiting with the black people at their church. But there's a lot of all black churches and all white churches. And it's not like something that they claim to do on purpose, but it's just not healthy. Yeah. Anyways. So, for a long time, I went to church regularly. There were some periods in my life where we would go to church every day. It looked like we had a revival at this church that I played in the band at. And I got to play the drums and the guitar and the bass, and I was subbing for a lot of people. That was just when I was just learning. I was like 15 years old, I think. But that church, it was real, man. There was, there was a family from Haiti there. Old black man from Haiti used to sing just horribly out of pitch. I still love him to death. He's like, oh, geez. Oh, Mr. Timothy sitting behind me again. And he'd sing loud, man, but it's all the same note. Celebrate, Jesus, celebrate. Oh, Lord Father. Just one note in the thick, awesome sounding African accent, Father. Oh, and he'd pray out loud, though. He'd get in that same monotone, that glorious accent, getting on some prayer rants. But that church, nobody looked alike. There was nothing homogeneous about it. Like the normal drummer was from India. Like the pastor was white. The guy who founded the church, he was white. Steve Lenny. The co-pastor was Hispanic. Two of the pastor's daughters and one of the co-pastor's daughters, so 2 white girls and a Latin girl, formed this vocal trio. Now let me just tell you this. You would go to this, I don't care who the fuck you are. Alice Cooper, Ozzy Osbourne would go to this fucking church on Sundays. These people were fucking talented. Okay? I didn't belong. I sucked. Okay? I was, I'd play like on a Wednesday until that revival started. And I was just learning, I was just figuring out shit, and like the people they were helping me and teaching me a little bit here and there. But they had some really good musicians. Okay? You know, people that could do pretty much anything. Not like brilliant soloist artists or anything. New Hope Church had that. But they didn't have these three girls. It was like waking up Sunday morning to a fucking choir of angels. They would sing the contemporary songs and contemporary versions of traditional songs in 3-part harmony. And oh, did I mention they were gorgeous? Yeah, they were. Like, painfully. They dressed very conservatively, but like, you can't hide gorgeous. But they were, all three of them girls waited for their husbands. Like this was a real church, man. If you could have combined them with New Hope's band and me on percussion, it would have been the ultimate Christian music. But like, celebrate, Jesus, celebrate. You've never heard that song. These songs that you go and you listen to as contemporary Christian music, to me, you've never heard them. Because you never heard those three girls sing them. Just, It's like with He Reigns. You never heard He Reigns until you heard New Hope Church play it with me on the bongos. Bum 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 bum. It's the Son of the Creator. Yeah. That song does not sound complete without those bongos in there. And like, there was another bongo player before I played. Those weren't my bongos, right? There was this guy who he played a tenor sax, and he sang in the choir. But when he played on the, he just did the. I mean, he just did the normal little pitter patter on the bongos. Where I was saying, I was fucking rocking out on it. Oh, wait. Anti-overheating device. Also known as a cigarette pack. Whatever. Good enough. Fuck it. Better no head than top of head, I think. Right? Dingo. Stop chewing, baby. Susie, you know the song He Reigns, right? Like, you can hear that with that intro. Bum 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 dun 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 dun, dun. Then I come in on the bongos. Bra da 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 dun dun da 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 dun da dun da dun. We probably played that, performed it 20 times over the maybe 30 or 40 total weekends that I played percussion with them. I played the set drums twice, I think, with them. They had much better drummers than me. But when it came to that percussion, oh. I had the big band king of Texas tell me I had just the right fucking ear for when to come in on that shit. He was friends with Nolan Ryan and would come and sub in with the jazz band at Alvin Community College. And I think he was playing a trombone. He was standing near me. I was playing out a little setup of congas and bongas. And he just stops in the middle of a couple of songs after we played like most of the set that we were rehearsing. And he's like, man, the way you come in with those little cut fill-ins is just perfect. It's like exactly what I imagined should be at that point. Like, it was such just a precise, well-placed compliment. It fucking melted my heart. I'm like, really? This guy is telling me that? Oh. See, like, I thought I was that good, but I didn't know, like, anybody else could fucking appreciate. Because I'm like, I don't have that fucking great of technical skills as a percussionist. It's just about composing with the percussion, you know? It's about getting that jungle feel or that calypso feel or whatever the music is trying to say at that point, you know? But the reason why people don't go to church more is because people don't know churches like that existed. The perfect church it'd be Steve Linney as pastor, just because he's so damn lovable. I mean, he was just a lovable fucking old guy. Okay, I don't even know if he's still around, but if not, then the person I make co-pastor would be pastor, and that'd be Tim Liston. Okay, now you can find Tim Liston on YouTube, and I highly recommend it, especially if you're in a relationship, because it's a good sermon meant for that. It's about Song of Solomon. So you can search for Tim Liston's Song of Solomon, and you should be able to find his sermon on that. Tim's probably the funniest preacher I ever saw. He's a guy's guy. Fucking hilarious. And you know, definitely alpha male by appearance, but not like intimidating in any way. Like a big teddy bear looking guy, right? Him with Lenny and the other guy's daughters. Those three girls. Or a similar trio. Because I'm telling you, there's something just fucking mystical and magical, and I don't think it was just my hormones because they were that, you know, good luck. But just the trio of girls, women, You know, they were in their 20s. But you know me, I don't like the word women, so I say girls. Califeta is a better word, but that has so many different weird connotations now. Um, anyways, sorry. Kind of getting off on a tangent there. The fuck was I talking about? Wait, hold on. Oh yeah, the ultimate church would be basically New Hope with Ron just directing the band and the choir because he's really good at that. But as good as a technical singer as Ron Howard is, and you can find his music if you want, Ron Howard. Uh, if you want, you can find New Hope, Ron Howard, New Hope Church, and you can actually see what's left of their band and everything, um, and see like the quality of music that they had. Probably you can find some of the songs that I've played here on YouTube. See, look at me, YouTube. I promote your other fucking like. Why doesn't YouTube like me? Oh yeah, they work for Russia. Hey YouTube, you want to prove that you don't work for Russia? Better pretend you like me. Anyway. So if you had New Hope with the trio, um, it would just be obnoxious how big of a church you would need in an area like Houston. They would draw a crowd of like minimal 40,000 every weekend. So my suggestion is to basically have as many churches as possible. Try to find someone from Grace Assembly of God. Not it wasn't an Assembly of God series church. It was just called Grace Assembly of God. It was before Assembly of God like became a thing after that church was named that. It was just a non-denominational fucking church. That was always a weird thing about it, but anyways, it was just a non-denominational fucking church. Okay? I forget what the Assembly of Gods were like, but I remember them being weird. This was not weird. But like those three girls, they didn't just sing. They led the praise and worship. You know? Like they led prayers, they led prayers between songs, like little musical interludes. And they'd come out like fucking rays of sunshine every morning, just smile and say, "Come on, everybody, stand up!" Like just you couldn't even be another woman and hate on them. Okay, they dress far too conservatively, and every single one of them was a role model. You know, and I think, like church leaders need to stop trying to come up with opinions. In their arrogance, they seek to try to better interpret scriptures. And what they're doing is just piling on bullshit on top of bullshit. They need to focus more on trying to bring people together. Focus on teaching examples, entertaining, entertaining, entertaining examples of the golden rules. And I mean, today, what a church should look like is something that people on Fox News would call a fucking meeting of liberal resistors, you know, like talking about how we as a community can better serve each other, you know, end hunger, end disease. Yeah, I said end it. I don't mean like genetic shit. I'm talking about contagious diseases. Really, how are we still succumbing to contagious diseases at the rate that we do, you know? You know, if Christians would stop trying to be magicians, you know? Focus on what they can know. You can have little Bible study groups, you know, but like the way preachers go and try to go through old things in the Bible and try to say this is what this means. Oh, somebody thought it means this, but no, I think it means that. Yeah, don't it? And then convince the people that it means that. The fuck are you talking about? How about you stick to shit everybody knows and we can all agree on? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Judge not, lest you be judged yourself. If you ever fall short on the lessons that can be taught on those subjects, play some more music, then rinse and repeat. You need to talk about current events and how those golden rules apply to how we should be treating each other. And nobody should be naming names. Nobody should be taking sides. Nobody should be mentioning political parties. It's just, here is the event. Here is what Christ says. Discuss. You have no business going into dogmatic interpretations of ancient, questionably translated scriptures. But when you have things that people can all agree on, the very fundamentals of Christianity that make Christianity an appealing faith to those you wish to, what's the word again? That thing that people used to do when they were actual Christians. Convert. Oh yeah, they used to convert. The only Christians these days are people who are born into Christianity, or people who say that they're now Christians because they want the business opportunities that come with a church community. Let me tell you, if you want a nice stable market in the South, you better be involved in a church. You know what I'm saying? You know, you can't go wrong with lessons of compassion. But be wary of indulging in truth as a vice. Because once you start trying to feel better and more superior and more enlightened than other people for the sake of feeling more enlightened of other people, and start thinking that some sort of spiritual state is the key to getting closer to God, you're fooling yourself. The key to getting closer to God is your relationships with your fellow human beings. It's how much you love each other. There's no greater gift that you can give someone than risking your own life to protect them. There's no greater experience in life than knowing someone loves you enough to risk themselves to protect you. And those extremities prove that the whole point of existence is that connection with other people. Because that is the basis of attachment to reality. I mean, we're obviously biologically social creatures, but it's more than that. We question our very existence, and we can't really even get outside of our own shells until we find that true connection. And the more we get taught as societies to disconnect ourselves from our inner selves and disconnect ourselves from spirituality and disconnect ourselves from each other, the more we all just get in that shell of paranoia with other groups, you know, that don't look like us or talk like us or just in general. I mean, you get far enough into one of these rabbit holes on the internet and you're just not going to be able to look at most people the same. But that feeling of like when you're watching fucking videos on YouTube, like is that fucker for real? Are they reading a script? Like what? I want to believe what they're saying, but and y'all ought to know me by now. I don't read a script. I look at fish tanks. Let's see what's on the TV. We can meet the newest species, a worm. That's just a fucking worm, dude. But anyways, yeah. But the more propagandized the people around you are during your childhood years, the more extremificated your upbringing, and the more judgment that is given to you by that upbringing. It's sort of like your family's tradition, especially when it comes to, you know, cultural bigotry and racism. Bigotry, excuse me. I don't know why that word came out. People carry that with them for the rest of their lives. And then entire groups of people, they don't even open themselves up to that connection. That's just sad. And frankly, it's bad for national security. I mean, the ultimate strength of America lies in its purity, in its constant willingness to fight corruption and to try to give a better deal to your children. And at its core, our society depends on that lack of narcissism, that lack of paranoid psychosis that propaganda and propagandization yields. Because when it comes down to it, how we treat each other, how we treat people who are already Americans, who have been Americans. Let me turn on the light. Oh, fucking face is too dark. Let's see if that helps at all. Not much. But how we treat each other, like the people who already are Americans, our ability to connect to each other. That's not only, directly impacting how immigrants are treated here, but it also impacts how we're seen by the world. And especially how we treat immigrants. But when it comes to how we're seen by the world, being a compassionate society, being a connected society, being a society that's not afraid to resolve its spiritual differences, that doesn't sit and pretend like there is no truth, like there's a million sides to every fucking argument and nobody wins. No, we've just become afraid to actually continue the discussion that was basically evolving our society and connecting us all together more spiritually. See, when we're all connected, when we trust each other, when you can walk down the street and fucking drop something and somebody's going to pick it up for you and say, hey, you dropped something. When you leave your lights off and somebody opens up your car door without even fucking telling you, turns your lights off for you, it's no big goddamn deal because you didn't even need to leave your door unlocked because it's a nice neighborhood that you live in. That's where we were going as a society. But we let the spiritual and political divisions tear us the fuck apart. And that makes us seem weak. Okay, now if somebody's you shouldn't be telling that on the internet, Emily. You shouldn't be saying if you lock your doors or not on the internet. Because, your neighborhood just got bigger. You know what I'm saying? So I'd be intermittently locking your doors for a little while. Just as a deterrent. Or at least say you're gonna. Anyways, yeah, I keep all my shit locked up all the time here in the middle of the fucking woods. No, I'm awake all the time, so I wish a motherfucker would. Come here! Okay. I want them to tell me how the arrows feel. Anyway. What were we talking about? murdering trespassers, not murdering trespassers. Right. Yeah, you just lock up when you're actually going to, like, leave for any length of time. Oh, oh. That's just a Southern tradition, to look forward to killing trespassers. I don't know. It's just a thing. All my family used to joke about it. It's just something we joke about. I think I remembered one of my racist uncles talking about a barbecue pit and a bear trap. I don't think I need to explain that story any further. But let's just say, thankfully, his plan didn't work. Turns out that's illegal. Even if the sheriff is your buddy and also a racist, turns out that's still illegal. To try to lure certain people into walking into a bear trap by a certain aroma that would be stereotypically irresistible to them. It's an Irish thing. We look forward to beating the shit out of our trespassers too. Yeah. Let me just tell you this, though. There's not a whole lot of choices. What you don't realize in Australia is that you've been targeted by the Horde. And those aren't just fucking mere migrants trying to get there. And your government figured that out early on. But what they didn't figure out is what the fuck to do with them. And that's horrible. But you gotta understand, in the ocean there north of Australia, there are still jam-packed slave ships. And what you gotta understand about slaves is that they wind up mercenaries. Just a lot. And somebody who owns slaves isn't going to let just any old slaves free in Australia and go become migrants. They're not going to let those people go in any way unless they've been paid to, and unless those people have been prepared to accomplish whatever objective it was that that slave owner was paid to accomplish. It's raining. Yeah, I mean, Australia for a long time has maintained a mostly meritorious immigration policy. And, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But, you know, as an alliance, we need to advance more as a total society, not as individual societies. We need to come together more. The United States, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, the Pacific Islands, Europe, you know. And we need to basically lead by example so that we continue to have the right to preserve our cultures. There's nothing wrong with not wanting to have your culture completely changed by a massive wave of migration. There's nothing wrong with that. Or are you telling me that the Native Americans have no right to have complained about the white man taking their land? You know? Because that's what you're saying. It's fucking hypocritical. So I don't consider it right for massive waves of migrants to target a specific area. There's other places with people similar culturally to them. They can fucking go there and not try to make a paradigm shift in another country happen that they can continue to send people later. I mean, they plan long term, and that's what people need to realize. These things aren't just like random, like, oh, we need a fucking place to go. Oh, there's Australia. Let's go there. No, no, that's not how it happens. But we need to evolve as a society to the point where no matter what, we can do better. Frankly, frankly, we should be able to build a fucking floating city if they ain't got nowhere else to go. And if you need the cheapest possible way to build it, I can show you exactly how. There's no excuse for people being kept in inhumane conditions. We've got to get our priorities straight as societies. And when the need arises, rally people to different causes in entertaining ways and let them be entertained by action. It's called getting a hobby. It's called actually having something to do. You don't need to sit there and veg out on the fucking, what, Kardashians or whatever the fuck it is nowadays. Stupid, pointless fucking entertainment. When there are plenty of basically ways to use entertainment as a means by which to focus people on holding their fucking society together. Because guess what? Once the society collapses, and we're on our way, okay? Once society collapses, entertainers aren't going to be doing much. You might get a good gig at a brothel somewhere, but anarchy is not good for showmanship. That's all I'm saying. Unless you're a retired mercenary or a mercenary who's trying to retire. That's more appropriate. Yeah. Anyways. Yeah. I agree with that. There's a lot of people who are just like, oh, shame on Australia. No, nobody's willing to even be as understanding as like, fucking Australia isn't that rich of a country. They're pretty prosperous, but it's not like they've got like this huge fucking navy that can just go intercept these people and then cart them all off to different places. But at the same time, somebody's got to rally the nation around getting the shit together because, while you're not trying to look like the place where the Statue of Liberty was planted, okay, you're not trying to look like a fucking blemish on society either. And I think that should be enough to rally everyone. But these things happen as a result of bad policies from the top, from corrupt officials that have basically just been getting by on riding the current wave of divide and conquer. Or in some cases, maybe directly collusive, but I haven't investigated any Australian officials for that. Let's just say some of the timings were weird. The timing of the challenge and the propagandized media. What was the prime minister who it all started with? And like, what perplexes me is why didn't the new guy make it better when he got sworn in? And I think there's another guy since him now. I'd probably know the names if. Yeah, I mean, for starters, once they realized the extent of a problem, they could have set up something on a bigger island somewhere. Um, but what they should have done was just got a fucking agreement with some other country. But, everybody wants it to be somebody else's problem. I would think, like, is it too much to ask to let Muslims take care of Muslims and let Christians take care of Christians and not have each other's territory overrun with waves of migrants? I don't think that's too much to ask. You see, getting back to what makes America great and what was making America greater and why it was specifically targeted. This ongoing philosophical debate, this spiritual unity that people were striving after, finding that there was some greater truth behind Christianity that connected Wiccanism to everything to it, and trying to message back to the traditionalist churches and basically just pulling people's heads out of their asses so they can really see each other again. Well, it's that strength that America had with that spiritual connectedness that made our culture impenetrable. And that's why I say waves of migrants belong here. We should have a society where the Christians act exemplarily and everyone else here is thankful to be around them, and therefore Christians should not be bigoted towards Muslim migrations in America. Yeah, like Australia is a big desert surrounded by a forest surrounded by an ocean. Okay, there's not a whole lot of places you can go in Australia, and there are two very settled cultures there, and it's just, it's like, what the fuck is the point of crowding that land other than to annihilate those cultures? And sorry, no. Like the Aborigines and the Europeans, supposed Europeans, have maintained a balance that's gone on for hundreds of years now. And the European children are taught to respect the Aborigines in their schools. They're taught Aboriginal songs. Whoever thinks that Australia is a big fucking racist country is sorely mistaken. New Zealand and Australia, you go there and you're learning. They have tribal leaders that come in there. It's they do it better than America does it with the Native Americans. And America makes a lot of effort to have like chieftains and stuff come in and teach the elementary school kids and stuff like that, right? Hmm. Yeah, New Zealand may be small, but New Zealand is all green, you know? And their society being just, less tense, less pressured. There's not the drought and fire and flood and then drought and fire and flood that you get in Australia. So there's not that constant fucking problems that everybody's stressed out about and the government's stressed out about. But like still, I'm still, you know, preferring them come here to America because, like New Zealand is kind of getting crowded. They've already got like enough of a homeless immigrant problem already. But they're at least confident in their culture and confident in their method. I mean, I still remember Tu Tiramai, like the way I got taught when I was in school at Miramar Christian Academy, which Susie might know of. They're in Wellington, New Zealand. If they keep that up, it doesn't matter how many cultures show up there. The British descent, the Dutch descent, and the European type people had a good way of teaching their kids that we're all kind of tourists here, and these are the fucking people that belong here, you know. And it was very, very honorable the way they went about that. And as long as they keep that up, then people from other countries can go there and learn about the Maoris too, you know. But I just worry about those ancient cultures having balanced with you know, colonial migrations, and then you're going to go and set an whole another wave of migrations on top of them. And especially considering that, you know, Christianity has evolved more into a culture that respects other cultures, whereas Islam is evolving back into a culture that wants to annihilate other cultures. So that's where I really take issue with that. But the point is, American society is supposed to be connected enough by, you know, by that responsibility of ministers to talk about the general issues of the time and connect the golden rule to them in a non-political way and teach as Christ would have taught about those issues. We'd keep the propaganda from sinking in and making us paranoid about each other. And by maintaining those connections with each other, no matter how many migrants come and their kids come to school with us and they come to work with us, that connection gets opened up to them. And even if they have some kind of fucked up agenda, the likelihood that they're going to stay that sociopath that they were programmed to be, the likelihood that they're going to carry out that fucked up agenda spirals down. Because they get into this connected society and they see, man, these people care about each other in a way that I never knew possible. I feel connected to these people more than I ever felt connected to these people in this paranoid, propagandized fascist society that I came from. And they start to learn that that was a paranoid, propagandized fascist society. And that the propaganda that they read about America and the CIA and the Illuminati and the Bilderbergers and the Trilateral Commission, they're turning the frogs gay. That's all bullshit. But the more people adopt that bullshit, the more divided we become, the more paranoid we get about each other. And that schism is seen as weakness by the commanders of the people who want to send the migrants, because those few actual sleeper agents that come within those waves of migrants, they can't be relied upon to go to a superior society. But when a society is divided, when a society is weak, they know that those migrants are going to go there and they're not going to really like it there, and they're going to be judgmental and they're going to think that they're better, and they're not going to assimilate. Then those few people will be able to propagandize them in place once they're deployed, basically. And you can count on that, those few people who actually know, to never turn, because they're going to, just like their commanders, look around and see this divided society and see themselves as more of a united society. Even if it's just the fucking, you know, false zeal or whatever propaganda that unites them. But if we stay united, if we don't let bullshit divide us, if we stop trying to go outside of the bounds of whose place it is to do certain things as far as preaching and prophecy goes, men who are not even educated in Scripture, interpreting Scripture for masses of people, and first and foremost, spreading interpretations that violate fundamental tenets of Christianity. You know, the golden rules. Those kinds of things have led to this weakening of society. And that is what enables this wave that's happened now. It's been a slow progressing thing, starting with little factoids about Christianity. And eventually they basically molded the church, the non-denominational community of churches in this country, into the evangelical right. Not even Christians anymore, they're evangelicals. which basically means go and be judgmental and act like your shit doesn't stink, and Jesus will be proud of you. No, no, not so much. If you could mix the words appalled and annoyed, apployed, annulled, something, annulploid, yeah. Avoid the noid, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's a very random time of day to succumb to a Domino's craving. Damn it, I have a Domino's craving. That is going to be an unfulfilled craving. But I just would like to dwell for a moment on just how delicious fucking Domino's gets their pepperoni when they just char the fuck out of it. Okay, moving on. I need a cigarette to quell the hunger. Smoke more, shit less. Speaking of which, you know, not only is eating overrated, you know, like the amount you can eat and shit, and like the ecological impact of gluttony, the environmental impact of gluttony on the scale of humanity. It's too many fat people, okay? It's just too many fat people, all right? Sorry. The more you consume, the more you shit. The more you shit, the more of that shit gets washed into the oceans from rivers, okay? So if you want to have billions and billions of people, they got to learn how to shit less. That's all I'm saying. Or people need to find ways to make poo get recycled better before it gets into the rivers. People need to find a way to clean up rivers more. But not only is overeating making the environment worse, okay, because, you know, the production, the packaging, the animals and crops that have to be grown, okay, the byproducts, the refuse, etc. And then it's just going to wind up in the toilet, okay? So that makes the problem of moving towards net zero impact or net positive impact food production all the harder, because we're trying to make food for 20 billion people when there's only 7 billion, you know? Because some people fucking eat too much, man. And really, like, most people fucking eat too much. And, you know, I'm not even talking about people who struggle with their weight. I'm talking about people who intentionally, like, namely guys who want to bulk up just for vanity. Like, to sit there and fucking waste resources like that. Like, I know that if I ate more, I would fucking work out more because I wouldn't want to get, like all fluffy and floppy and shit. And I would just be bulking up muscle. But I'd be shitting 3 times a day because that's how much fucking, that's how much your digestive system has to work to bulk up and become like a fucking muscular guy. Those guys fucking, they'll eat like a pizza and a half by themselves, like. And they're burning all the calories, right? They're burning all the calories. It takes a hell of a lot more food to build one of them giant fucking biceps as it does to make a beer belly. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. I'm not sitting there trying to get on people for being flawed, but there's there's women who just decide that they fucking feel bad, or men who just decide that they don't give a fuck, and they just consume and consume and consume because it's pleasant to do so. That's fucked up. You're not thinking about how just wasteful and not like wasteful the way your mama would think, but like the way wasteful the way Al Gore would think, like there's an ecological impact that's beyond responsible at a certain point. And when you're doing it indulgently because it's the only thing that you can fucking bother to do to make yourself feel better, or if you're doing it to try to get chicks, eat more so you can bulk up and feel manly, and you gotta get your big old pickup truck, Just that quest for fucking masculinity, and usually like when it comes to indulgent women, it's the same way. They always want to drive a big fucking fancy SUV and shit like that too. I'm not talking an Acura. See, all that indulgence, all that gluttony, it makes the environmental impact of that one individual just appalling. And then the same thing with the guy. He's like, you graduated high school a long time ago because your teachers went easy on you because you were the fucking football player or whatever, but you don't play football anymore. So why are you at the gym every day? Because I want to look big. And I see those guys, and people have a lot of funny jokes that they can make about those guys. They're sitting there in the fucking mirror, like looking at themselves like they want to fuck themselves and all. But as funny as that is, that's not what I think when I see them guys. When I see them guys, I think about how much my dad shit when he was one of those guys. And I think that is a motherfucker who breaks toilets right there. And not because he was angry. That is a whole roll of toilet paper per day. Right there. The amount of food that you have to eat when you burn calories at that rate to continue to bulk up. You are talking some prolific poop. Some prolific poop or poolification. I don't know. Some prolific pooping. Poo-poo prolification? I don't know. That sounded like Betty Boop for a second there. Poop-poop prolification? I don't know. I shouldn't do Betty Boop impressions, but let's face it, I have the forehead for it. Mom, is that you, Betty Boop? Does anybody even fucking know who the fuck Betty Boop is anymore? Better off talking about Felix the cat. Boop, boop, be-doop, bop. Oh, yeah, Betty Boop. Wasn't she in Roger Rabbit? Yeah. She was in Roger Rabbit, yeah. That's it. She's just a character from Roger Rabbit, yeah. There's a lot of funny things about farts, but most of them are inside jokes. They always come out at the worst times. Some of them are better kept to yourself. I think Petey's hitting a fucking growth spurt. And in fact, I'm starting to think he is a she. Because the bright blue has faded. But I'm not sure about whether or not it's the males that keep the bright blue and the females that become duller. I think that's the case. So it'll be from Petey to Patricia. I don't know. Penelope. My niece, Penelope. Anyways. From the day he was born and Dr. Scott rocks, all he wanted was Dr. Scott's cock. Was rock and roll born, she bop, bop, on the motorbike. Woo, 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 woo. He was a low-down, cheap little punk. Yay, punk! Taking everyone for a ride. When Eddie said he circumcised his daddy, you knew he was a Jewish kid. Oy vey, wouldn't he threaten your life with a dick this size? What a fag. Makes you gag. And I did. Rocky Horror Picture Show for anybody who's just like, is he okay? I'm sure most of my viewers have stopped wondering that a long time ago. The answer is no. I'm fine. Hi. I still know most of the dances and like the blocking and shit. Certain things you repeat so often you never forget them. But yeah, I think one time a long time ago I did like a cappella or something. I don't know if we were even watching it. I was just going through as much of Rocky Horror as I could just spout from memory, which is a lot of it. with all the AP lines, with all the audience participation lines, of course. Some of which people who didn't go to New Orleans Rocky never heard because either I or someone else there local introduced them. So what's cool about Rocky is like back in the day when Rocky was a thing, you could go to different cities and you could go to the Rocky Horror Picture Show there, and like their lines would be different, and like sometimes you'd be like the only guy saying one thing because you're from a different place and their AP lines are different, and like the little crowd will hear you and they'll like laugh at it because they never heard it before. Anyways, hey Janet, I've got something to say. Say it, asshole. I really love the skillful way. What a fucking genius. You beat the other girls with whips and chains to the bride's bouquet. And that too. The river was deep, but I swear. Okay, I'll stop. Stopping. I'm stopping. Anyways. Damn it, Janet. You're a slut and a bitch and a whore and a whole lot more. So what were we talking about? Oh yeah, paranoia. Tell you what, as much bad as you can say about the alcohol and the drugs of the crowd, and I mean fucking older men trying to pick up young girls and shit, and there was a lot of bad that happened, okay, but there was something right about that. There's something about that needs to be replicated. We don't have a church, we don't have a meeting place, we don't have a fucking regular community where everyone in the nation has their local version of it, and we go there to discuss things, not in a governmental way, just like in a way that actually brings people together. And that's what I miss about Rocky, man. Like everybody there had fucked up parents or something, right? Like the regular crowd, and then there'd be like the goody two-shoe people who like just come there to see, and we just treated them like tourists, kind of. And it wouldn't have mattered if you were fucking Chinese, African, Ukrainian, and Russian, German, no matter where you were from. You come to Rocky Horror and be anything but a yuppie fucking snob, and we loved you. And we made it our mission to show you a good time while you were there, If I found out there were some fucking Russians, I was hauling my ass to the store bringing back some fucking Smirnoff, It's so dreamy. Oh, fantasy, free me. So you can see me. Do you douche? No, not at all. Where is your douche? In another dimension. What's it for? It's for your mystic intention. Well secluded. I see all. With a bit of a mind flip. You're into the time slip. Fuck that pole. And nothing can ever be the same. You're spaced out on sensation. Like you're in a sedation. Well, I was walking down the street just to have understand. What the fuck, I give me an evil way. He looked me up and took me by surprise. He had a pickup truck in the devil's eyes. Said to me, I will change. Time ain't nothing, never what I get. Let's do the time warp again. Let's do the time warp again. How the fuck is it done? It's just a jump to the left. And then a step to the right. Put your hands on your tits or somebody else's. And bring your knees in tight. And it's the pelvic thrust. Group sex tough drives you insane. Oh, man. Fucking good times, man. Back in New Orleans, we would show up sometimes at 7 o'clock, okay? But people be showing up en masse 3 hours before midnight. So just imagine this parking lot party. Friday and Saturday night. 3 hours in front of this theater. Just, like tailgating and just people sitting on top of cars, people sitting in the fucking alleyway behind the place smoking pot, and lesbians running around on acid, like just good times. And towards the late 90s, there'd always be like the groups of ravers that would come by, either to get or to sell drugs. Speaking of lesbians running around on acid, a lot of them were on their way to the raves. But we need like things that pull us together as a society. Like I brought up like overhauling and extreme home makeover. Those are kind of extreme examples, but they really are great examples of how entertainment can be applied to make the world a better place. And I think that, networks in this country need to have like a mutual agreement to do this. And I think maybe even like once we actually get a responsible government back, I think they should be incentivized to do so somehow. Like, I'm sorry, but when was the last time you saw a Christian on TV who wasn't a dumbass? That pisses me off. Like, it's either got to be the right-wing asshole or the clueless bimbo. Those are the only Christians you get. Oh. Unless, of course, you get the innocent teen girl or boy struggling with dating too fucking young to be a real Christian. But they're going to be a real Christian, and you're going to get to see how they basically succumb to the world, but still they're still true to themselves, and that's what really matters. Or did they stop repeating that cliche? I think it'd be a hell of a fascinating show to watch. It'd be a family of Christians not sitting there like Seventh Heaven and having these stupid little fucking cliche stories that essentially amount to them being a bunch of hollow failures. I'm sorry, but that's all that fucking show is. But instead, maybe a show about that family's struggle to maintain true to their actual values in the face of a society that wants to represent Christianity by the values of its hypocrites. They should call it the Strawman Family. Yeah, community. You know, that thing that God created you for. Or is not the most sacred ritual of a Christian entitled communion? It was the point of the life. It's the point of God's sacrificial nature. It's the point of God becoming powerless. Yeah, I mean, if you notice, that happened. There was a point to that. Meow. Profound lesson taught for humanity at great personal expense. Meow. Figures. $2,000 will give you such a crick in the neck. What? You see, in every possible incarnation of God, you know, the ones that I've explained to you, you can find them throughout history. What you'll find is not only God teaching humanity a valuable lesson and the existence of that person teaching humanity a valuable lesson, and sometimes a paradigm shift happening based on that philosophy that's introduced because of either the lessons directly taught by that incarnation or the life lessons taught by that person's life. Yeah. But the reflection of spirit that someone learns from these lifetimes, when you consider that there's a construct here, and God hears the cries of people who accuse him of being unfair and unjust. And what you see in all of those incarnations is a manner in which God has become blameless. Okay? It's not sinless, it's blameless. And usually the result, the root of blame for God, so I mean, just to make a simple analogy of it, the typical resort, I guess, of blame for God that people go to is to try to blame him for the suffering that, you know, people inflict upon each other. So God should naturally come here and suffer. Thereby making God blameless, not hypocritical. God can't have communion and be respected by people who have arguments with him. So all those arguments must be made illegitimate for that communion to take place. So for God to come here and sacrifice himself means that he's not asking any more of those people at that time than he was willing to do himself. And it's not enough to simply say, imagine the argument, okay? God, you asked us to sacrifice yourself, but you're God. Why couldn't you just miracle the shit out of it? Miracle us out of that shit. God has to be able to say, I was there with you. I was just as mortal as you were, and I suffered the same fate. Because otherwise, God can't expect you to live up to any form of standard. How do you the argument to God? How do you, God, expect me to do something in my mortal state? It's easy for you to expect it when you're God. So God has to become mortal in order to expect anything from humanity, doesn't he? Otherwise, he would be a hypocrite, wouldn't he? So in every incarnation of Christ, you find one of those microcosms. Like, say when the world is being brainwashed and free will is itself at stake. Jesus could come back and miracle your asses out of it. Or he could show you exactly how a human could solve this problem. Not that my name was ever Jesus, but the one you're saying isn't coming back is already here. I am him. Or is there something that you know better than me? I mean, it has to be the troll with that opinion, doesn't it? Note that wherever the carcass is, the vultures will gather. You don't seem to understand that God doesn't want slaves, so you can't comprehend what you're looking at. This is the form that is necessary for God to not have slaves. Excuse me. We are the form. And in fact, the Spirit of God is certainly not limited to these two forms. This whatever it is isn't really big on the whole comprehension thing. So we're just wasting our time. That's Lee Harvey Hitler. That's just another screen name for Lee Harvey Hitler. That's him. I've told you a consistent, fluid story of exactly what has happened over the past 2,000 years to get the world in the present state. Your little propagandized fucking generalizations are no longer even coherent in relation to that consistent story. I know you know what the Johannite genocide is. I know you know what Magdalenia is. So don't sit there and speak in terms of the unenlightened. You just sound like a zombie. Yeah. I mean, just play it out to its logical conclusion. What does everlasting life mean? First of all, the weird little fantasy of pseudo-godhood that comes to mind for a vain man, of immortality, it's not something that even God himself finds pleasant. Now, granted, living for longer than we do now because of the degradation of human genetics and the amount of just shit that we pump into the system around here, that's kind of disappointing. But to want to be immortal is to deny more than it is to give, okay? And one of the most simple ways to explain that is imagine being immortal and then meeting someone from another walk of life, another culture, and wondering what it's like to be them, okay? If you're immortal, you'll never get to know. But if you're reincarnating and you have a greater spiritual self, that greater spiritual self gets to know, and you get to experience that each lifetime. But there's a corporeal linear experience on both planes. And we are more asleep when we are awake. I'll tell you that. We are more asleep when we are awake. I have not. There we go. Like I just wonder about the mental capacity of someone who can learn so much, yet they spout so little. You know, like like children require parents to repeat themselves over and over again. I have children. I'm not here to have more children. Children. I'm here so people can get jobs and move out. Okay? That's what God wants. God wants you to get a job and move the fuck out of his house. Okay? Why? Because that's what parents want, isn't it? You come visit me on holidays and shit. Just call once a day. Call your mother. She worries. I mean, y'all want intelligent life to exist in outer space so bad. Well, go be it. Y'all tell me what kind of aliens y'all want to be. Oh, are we talking about the old covenant as if we don't understand what the new covenant is? Oh, yeah. What was I just saying about you've learned things yet you don't apply them with the words that you speak? Jeez. Yes, I've talked about be fruitful and multiply. And this is exactly what I'm speaking of. So not only are you failing to comprehend the basics, you're failing to comprehend the specific lesson that I've taught on the subject. By creating this universe and the children of this universe, when you ascend, when you move out, guess what you get to do? You get to be fruitful and multiply. Am I supposed to believe that Fred Flintstone is the serious name of an actual subscriber when you've shown up in frequency with the Moses Yeltsin, Lee Harvey Hitler troll? How are you not aware of these things yet? Little baby universes, the halls of your fathers. How many times do I have to teach these lessons? They're on video after video. Go watch. See how the story hasn't changed. See how I never had to read it from anywhere. But this whole trying to appear like a new viewer with normal questions just so I can bark at you, it's really getting tiresome. And I'm sorry, but the people investigating y'all see through it and have seen through it for quite some time. And frankly, the fact that I bark at people shouldn't detract from my views, should it? Not really. No, you can whine about it and you can pretend like you have a case, but when all comes down to it, it should be making for great ratings, shouldn't it? The simple fact is, the Lee Harvey Hitler troll is an agent of ignorance. I am an agent of enlightenment. They oppose me because of the truth that I spread, or attempted to spread. Still attempt to spread? I don't know. But yeah, don't even think that you're going to correct me as if you've thought of some argument to something that I haven't heard as a prayer. Like, it's not so much impudence, because I don't fucking see myself as someone who should have a problem with people being impudent. Okay? That's not what's going on here. It's about basic politeness. It's about the manners that you should be showing other people. When people don't show them to me, I get pissed. Okay? Period. Because if you're not showing them to me, then who the fuck are you showing them to? And for somebody to constantly try to correct me, and everything they say is just a failure to understand shit that I've already said, it's like, dude. If I wanted to teach children how to breathe, I'd go run a fucking daycare center. I'd become an elementary school professor. Professor, teacher, yeah, teacher. I'd go teach Sunday school. But I mean, ask questions. I don't mind repeating the lessons. It's just that when you force me to repeat myself by being rude, it's just, it just puts me off. But in my opinion, and this is why I take exception to it, the way it seems to be like some sort of a setup to justify their seclusion of me, their suppression of me, right? Bullshit. Bullshit. Everybody loves a heckler video. Everybody loves a heckler video. And when it comes to somebody who can put the smack down on common knowledge with shit that people should know but are basically too blind to see, I'm sorry, but that's... I would personally, outside looking in, I would personally find it more than addictive to watch. Yeah, I do have kind of a knack for um, those sort of interactions. And that's just from living in the ghetto, okay? Like, and it's not that I was good at that while I was in the ghetto. It's just like after I was in the ghetto, I had a lot of time to think about being in the ghetto. What I wish I would have said. And eventually my smart ass exceeded those around me. But yeah. I find it easy to take people apart when they're very simple people because I've had so many different walks in life and known so many different people that, like, I mean, it's almost like programming a fucking NPC bot, just when somebody, especially somebody propagandized, tries to force their opinions down somebody's throat, it's just so predictable once you understand the propaganda. Like, once you see the Matrix, you just see all the little codes. You see all the little green... but not really. It's like I practically know what somebody like that is going to think before they do. I know all the possibilities of where they could go with their minds because they've limited themselves that much. But the fulfillment, okay, let's go into specifics of fulfillment of the commandment regarding the new covenant as it pertains to the original. And I've talked about how important that is, the original commandment, especially regarding like the tragedy of liberal intellectuals saying that they should be the ones to only have one or two children. Like, no, you are the ones that should be breeding more. We should be paying you to fuck. Okay? But as far as, the joke that I apparently, just, I guess is taken too seriously. Yeah. I want you to move out. As in, like, you're in a children's room. God wants communion with you. He wants you to have a nice house down the street. Okay? That doesn't mean that's going to end the cycle here. That doesn't mean there's not going to be new souls. It's just going to make room for them. But more importantly, that gives you the power to create new souls. That's what ascension is. When you become a star, your ancestors, when they became stars, they started contributing to the Hall of Souls. The Hall of Souls is the hall that connects all the halls of your ancestors. And they, on some imaginary fucking plane somewhere that we might perceive as alien life, although, no, I don't think we can interact on that level from here. I just think that's all bullshit. But if we could, we might perceive them as some sort of different evolved human being that left here a long time ago, physically. But metaphorically, our interpretation would be correct, because technically they did leave here a long time ago. But there's no space travel involved. There's spiritual travel. There's these transmergence of souls. Two soulmates become lost and try to find each other again. Now there's another big part of society that I'm talking when it comes to national security, okay? The reason why propaganda, the reason why evil targets love is because when people see the connection that people have when they truly fall in love, there's no denying it. There's no, there's no failing to see them as humans. You see what you deep in your soul want. And a society that believes in true love between two people is a society that understands the love that we should all have for each other, Anybody watching this in the future needs to have the comments playing, because they're priceless. Love you guys. Anyway. So, the process that I was trying to explain 2,000 years ago, but that you don't have much clarity on, is as simple as this. Since people have, without a doubt, encountered many different philosophies since then, and have considered things that people at that time simply would not consider and would not find coherent when communicated. I can speak these things plainly now, okay? Man or a woman, okay? When you live a life that proves worthy of redemption, okay, you start as a soul, malleable either way. Depending on which way you go, whether you learn from your mistakes or don't. Okay, because you're going to make mistakes, right? There's no, those people who are sinless and perfect, they get to go and be with God because he's sinless and perfect. Ho, 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 ho. Fuck those people, okay? I can't... Sorry, that's just all I have to say about that. Fuck those people. And I hope all the gays that they didn't hire get to fuck them in the afterlife. Okay, anyways. Judgmental pricks. Really? Really? You think you could decorate a cake better than a faggot? Sorry. Didn't mean to say faggot, but you know, like, but the faggier, the better they could probably decorate that fucking cake. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. They will blow your fucking the more feathers and glitter and shit that they have on them, the better that cake is gonna look. Okay. People are gonna not. I'm gonna not decorate a cake. I think you butthurt. I think you just know those people could probably make a better cake than you blindfolded. They just too busy because they trying to get married. And you fat old bitter bitch, you just jealous. Okay. Now, so a soul, first time around, brand new soul, baby soul, baby soul, baby soul. Okay. Mommy soul. All right. First soul. And I don't want to get into specifics about how male and female plays into this because that gets really complicated. But let's just say you can go from male to female. You can switch roles, you and your soulmate, okay? But that happens after this. There's no point in discussing, you know, whether the chicken comes. So, just whatever you are now, the first time you were a soul, that's what you were, okay? That much is certain. That first time you were a soul, you are completely malleable clay, okay? And that clay is going to wind up in an oven and going to take form. And it's up to you to determine whether or not that clay gains a purposeful form or is just something pretty or something intimidating or something impressive. It's up to you to turn that clay into a cup. And that way, once it goes into the furnace, it can still hold water. Because what other use do you have for clay, right? Now, that water, okay, so when that first body dies, it must become a vessel to hold water. Otherwise, when redemption comes, you're going to go into the furnace, okay? Whether it's the furnace of your life or the furnace of all the people that wronged you or that you wronged, and all the guilt that you bear, and all the revenge you're owed. That water is God's spirit. Okay? And if your vessel can't hold the water, you're just going to sit there and burn. But if your vessel holds the water, it puts out the fire, and the vessel stays cool, and the water takes shape. And then that sentient mammal can be reborn. It has a soul. It has a piece of God. It earned its place as one of God's children. Then, its next lifetime, it begins a quest for its next purpose. Okay? And there you have the, in the first lifetime, you have the old covenant applying. Okay? As far as be fruitful and multiply. If you're worthy of fucking, go out there and have some babies. Good on you. Go ahead. That's what you were built for. Do it. But when it comes to the second lifetime, there has to be a purpose for that lifetime. So there is a purpose for that lifetime. You've already taken form, and your soul is not likely to digress. There's going to continue to be challenges, but you're not going to get a challenge that's going to dissipate you. If you've never had that first lifetime where you proved yourself, you may be overcome. But in that second lifetime, after you served God faithfully, resisted the temptations of the flesh that cause harm to other people, and lived responsively and tried to spread the word of God's love to other people, you have formed a vessel that can carry wisdom. You have become a spiritual mold. And then, instead of having to pay the boatman, you can just swim across, man. After a few times, you'll just turn into a fish or whatever. But anyways, not to get sidetracked by some things that might seem silly. The next time around, your purpose, having been connected to you from your last life, is from there connected to your next life from the moment you started. Your purpose in your second life is for your next life. And you have to find the fulfillment of that continuation. That's your purpose. Your first purpose was to basically gain a form that could exist without the physical. Okay, to become a vessel that could hold water. Then that weight in water is transferred into a new life, into a new consciousness. And you're supposed to find something that connects you back to the possibility of a greater self. And usually, traditionally, how it's supposed to play out, even, is you find true love. And in true love, you find a connection that transcends the corporeal, that seems to transcend time itself. And then, as someone who's found true love, you go from someone who's earned the right to exist and earned the right to have the gift of life that God gave them to a natural philosopher. Not someone who read a book and got curious and is therefore propagandized by the world, but someone who thinks of things for themselves because God's love found them through another soul. Now, Dingo, Dingo, cut it out. Really? That's enough. Oh, don't look at me like that. You pissed on the floor this morning. I'm not happy with you. Let me get him food and water. Fuck. There you go. Good boy. All right. What the hell was I talking about? So try to clear your mind of New Age, Christ consciousness, any type of, Oak Ridge stuff like that. Because this is something a lot more rooted in just real life, just ordinary life. The way God actually created the world, I know it's like you're reaching up when you need to be reaching around you. You know what I'm saying? In that second life, you may find your soulmate. You may not. It's not necessary to find your soulmate at that point. But you find love. Okay? And sometimes you can find that in your first life, and you can and gain that philosophy that causes you to seek that in your next life. Like you'll fall in love the first time in that second life and remember love, and then you'll have like a mad quest to find your soulmate just because you've been introduced to what love was, and that somehow connects you to the past. And like, if you believe in reincarnation, if your society is a society that believes in reincarnation, you'll be like, I feel like I've been here before. I mean, that's just a given thing that happens in the society that believes in reincarnation. And then you seek your soulmate out, typically in that second or third life. And by the third life, you should have found them at least once. In that third life, when you have children with your soulmate, your spiritual energy is harmonized, and you live an immense amount of time longer than most people live. You become one of them people with great great grandchildren. Okay? And that's because of the fulfillment of the commandment of be fruitful and multiply. It's because those two people inevitably will recognize, well, in ages past, will recognize their potential as, the wheat, not the chaff, and realize that their seed needs to be, propagated. I mean, that's a weird, like, clownfish breeder's way of looking at things, but like I said, I'm supposed to be able to talk to you now, right? Can I just fucking talk to you? Would y'all prefer the wizard to be behind the curtain? I mean, that's what the internet's for. Hey, look, I'm coming on the clouds right now. Skeet, skeet, skeet. I forgot about the early thing. Hold on a second, y'all. I need to, oh, I can't stress my battery out. So I'm just going to put it on mute for a second, and I'll be back. Give me like 3 minutes. Okay. All right. Now that I've done given all the lectures of the day, and of course told the story about how I had to chase down the bus this morning. Okay. What were we talking about? We were talking about the new Hannibal Lecter Museum in Fargo, North Dakota, where we keep cadavers cool year round. I was trying to be random and I succeeded. Wow. Okay. Well, you have basically two different answers to the question. Why am I suffering? And the answer that people are inexorably led to is determined by the community that they're in. Okay, so if you're going to a church that has wise people there and not con artists just trying to pass around an offering plate, you're going to understand that suffering has its purpose in life, and that suffering beyond that is the result of other people with free will making shitty choices that causes other human beings to suffer. But when you're in a, you know, when you're watching MTV and Comedy Central all day, you know, when you're on the internet all day, memeing or whatever the kids are doing these days. What's that? Instagramming, yeah. Snapchatting. Yeah, and Snapchatting. And shut up.
That's true.
Shut up.
That's true.
Anyways, this one knows how to make me giggle, and it's getting obnoxious. Stop looking this way. Make your face point somewhere else. Point your face. Point your face. You're embarrassing me. And she knows it. She's doing it on purpose.
Everyone saying is wrong about how what kids are doing these days.
Why is it still talking? Anyways. See, it's just like when company's over, you know. When company's over, your kids get to act obnoxious and tease you because they know there's only so mad you're going to get around company. She's over there laughing at me now. And then, of course, they acting all sweet and being subtle with their obnoxious, you know, they're like torture experts. They are all children there. Know exactly how to torture their parents. And they get it from their mother. Because all mothers are like KGB masterminds. Okay, they just. After so many years, like once your kids get older, you don't even like ask them to do anything anymore. You just like, aren't you going to do that? Are you gonna make me do that? Really? Of course, our kids don't listen either way, so it doesn't matter. No, I'm kidding. How dare you look? Take it easy, Mr. Conway. Thanks for hanging out, brother.
Go Snapchat.
I don't know, man. If Fred Flintstone is, I mean, old boy was apologizing last time, so just just try not to trigger me. Fuck. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm immune to shit. I'm fully human. I'm just a better trained human than most. Which I say because of the prime example I think of when how prone I am to actually being triggered. I learned how easily I could be triggered when I was in 7th grade, when I had first moved from. Stop. I'm trying to speak. Stop. Give me that. Just give it. Give it here.
Take it.
Oh. She just wanted me to show this to y'all. She's so proud of it. Yeah. Okay. There. Are you happy now?
I'm so happy.
They won that or something. I don't know. Don't. Bzz, 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 bzz.
Skittles. Taste.
Interrupting. Interrupting. Interrupting chicken says what?
Skittles. Taste the rainbow.
Baka!
Taste the rainbow.
Okay. Fuck was I talking about?
Yummy rainbows.
No. Maybe something's there to remind me.
No, it says always.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. My little funny example of when I realized I could be true. Like when I realized I had the problem with magic and my temper and, being a little too powerful for like the world's own good. That was when those guys were speeding away from me in the Tahoe that they came to jump me in. And all I did was sit there and sip my coffee. What the fuck are you? Oh, that was great. But when I first realized I had like the temper problem to begin with, that I could be triggered. This guy named Brandon. And I think I'm still friends with him on Facebook and shit. It's been a long time since I saw him. We wound up cool for years. And I had made pretty quick friends with him early on in the school year in 6th grade, seventh grade when I had first moved to Louisiana from Houston. From the ghetto. Sharpstown. Okay? Yeah, white boy in Sharpstown. Hello. It's like a fucking unicorn, okay? You keeping an eye on time for me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna go out there.
No, I'm gonna go out there because it's pouring. So
Exactly. I'm gonna go. Busy.
don't argue.
You're busy.
I'll end the stream and I'll go out there. What are you gonna do? Drive the Accord? No. No. No, not that look in your eye. No,
I'm gonna
no.
walk.
Okay.
Because I like the rain. The rain is my friend.
Okay, no. I'm not, no.
How dare you chase me away from the
Would you fucking be quiet already?
rain?
I'm trying to tell a story about my temper.
Perfect example. Sorry.
Isn't it time to do your chores or your bedtime or something? Yeah. You're being
Skittles.
trolled from Australia.
Taste the rainbow.
Anyways, yes, thank you. Thank you. Go to your room.
Ruff, ruff.
Give me that.
No, my taste the rainbow box.
Yeah, because you know I'm going to have to beat you with it.
I didn't even hit you the first time. Oh.
So, Brandon,
Do you like Skittles? I'm sorry.
Brandon was like my immediate black friend that I made there in 7th grade in like the first couple days of 7th grade. Go blow your nose and fucking come on. You're not gonna sit here and sniffle. I mean, why don't you just sit there and fart while you're at it? Shouldn't you be doing that? And then what you do when you get home, you just sit there and fart for like an hour straight. Anyways, so Brandon, cool dude, glasses. I think he played football or basketball or something, athletic. Not much shorter than me, pretty tall dude. Nice guy. I was kind of staring out the window, having a little bit of a daydream flashback. All right, are we back yet? As soon as I get into a good fighting story, it always seems to buffer. But this is hardly a fighting story. This is... I just grabbed, there, and flicked my arm back around like this, and had him like this up against the glass before I knew who he was, who I was, or where I was. And I remember thinking to myself, Sean, you've developed a possible psychological issue. You're going to have to be mindful of that. you're around people who aren't like hostile tribal freaks like Houston. Man, you ever heard about the Mexican versus black race war in Houston? I went to that middle school. Yeah, there were in fact a couple of white kids there. Didn't fucking go to school that day. We heard about it. We didn't want no fucking part of it. We didn't want to be there. A lot of teachers didn't show up. Like it was something that everybody fucking knew was gonna happen, and it wasn't the first time it happened. Because I mean, those schools that you could passes without passing a fight. I'm talking a fight with people gathered around and hollering and everything. Just somebody's fighting somewhere. Every bell, every buzzer. And I'm talking, 4,000 kid school. I'm talking big fucking school, too. Damn maze, man. I'm glad when I dream about being back in school, I don't dream about being back in that school. That, oof. Not accurately, anyways. Hell, it's harder to find your way around that school in real life than it is in a fucking weird dream maze. Anyways. But yeah, I got in school suspension, I think, for that. Even though he didn't have a problem with it, he knew that I was from the ghetto. That's why we were friends. Like I guess I reminded him of rap music or something. I don't know, like. I didn't mean to do that, but I had learned to act faster than anyone can think. Like that's just how you survive when you. Phew. Like you can't perform in a mediocre way in a single fight and expect to not constantly have people fucking with you in that kind of area. Boy. And I mean, like, you have to, like, know when. It's almost like being in prison. You gotta know when to be ruthless. When too many fucking people are watching, you gotta get yours. Like even when it comes to a short kid who talks a lot of shit, but all he does is really just steal the basketball from you too much. Kick that motherfucker, man. It was a necessity. I wasn't about to have the growing number of people that, I already had fucking size is 89,000 fucking Converse All-Stars. And then, like, that one kid fucking thought he wasn't even a gang. And he was I don't know, like Filipino or Malaysian or something. Wasn't even in a gang. Didn't have no clique whatsoever, and thought he could like somehow gain popularity by fucking with me. I done choked him out while slamming his head into the fucking bleachers. Okay? Just because I felt like I had to. I felt bad, like, right afterward, you know? And I remember looking around there and, you know, I didn't render him completely unconscious. You know, he started to go limp and I let go, but I fucking banged the back of his head into the fucking bleachers behind him 3 or 4 times. Just like I had not much problem defending myself against 3 people at that point. And I didn't like the extra hassle of, you know, how many times I had to move and change schools and just, you know, every different new group of fucking people you meet, somebody wants to see if they can fuck with you or not. So that was just a display for the whole goddamn gymnasium to see. And there were no teachers around. You're talking like fucking 800 kids in this fucking gym. Okay, just like full of fucking kids. No teachers, not one. The kids are all supposed to be sitting down, and a lot of them were. It just didn't, you know, just because we're just fucking there. Why the fuck stand up, you know? So there's like a clear view of this happening, and the fucking bleachers banging, boom, boom, boom. And this is the type of school where you get stabbed and shot in, you know? And I think I was carrying at the time. This dude here, way out of his league. But that fucking, you know, that temper got to me. And just like that. Man, you want to talk about being paranoid. I used to bite into the side of a Coke can to drink it, just to reduce the number of people that would fuck with me. Anyways. Like, and still to this day, you know, I don't let my temper get to me as far as like things that I could go to jail for, because I know that, you know, I'm not worried about teachers watching in the ghetto. I'm worried about cops watching in the country, you know. I'm not stupid. But I still think there's a time when you gotta, but because society has become so disconnected, and the more disconnected we become, the more the likelihood of these kind of scenarios occurring increases. Where you might be in a neighborhood, and thank God I don't live in a fucking neighborhood like this anymore, where one fucking neighbor is fucking with you, next thing you know, you got the whole neighborhood disrespecting you. And then you got crackheads coming and stealing shit from you because they don't think you gonna do nothing. Oh, that's that boy played, you know? And the fact that that's the world we live in, That's the reason why that's the reason why I call myself conservative when it comes to politics. And I don't accept the liberal label just because, but I read, you know. Ah, rain. Well, it's that same paranoia from cultural disparity, from lack of communion, from lack of the church setting the proper example that made immigrants feel welcome, that makes these ghetto ass communities, fucking pick on the few white people that are there. And it's the same kind of situation globally, where we have to have a strong military, we have to defend ourselves, we have to have strong business globally as much as we can, okay? But the world could be a better place without that paranoia, without that same lack of connectedness, where we respect each other and see that breath of God in everyone we see. Or we see someone struggling to take a form and help them take that form. And that also applies to be fruitful and multiply. Because if you're not adding to the kingdom of heaven, then you're not adding anything. Anyways. So to reconnect the world, as I've been saying, we need to go back into the past and find where our paths separated and understand that when it all boils down to it, none of us alive today have any reason to be apart. And if we can learn enough about that past, we can stop being paranoid of each other. We can start being a community again. And then, I hope we ascend to the stars together. Thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to click the like button, make sure you're subscribed, and all that good stuff. Y'all take it easy, but don't take it all.